So that is one pro tip is what I can say.
Yeah, and it's nothing to think like, no, I just did a very simple solution and was able to clear the bar. Otherwise, I wouldn't have deserved, because this is something everyone does. Hello, everyone. Today we have with us Abhishek. We are from the same batch and college, and he was one of the select few for being selected in AI and big data role at Robert Bosch. He was also one of the top 300 to crack a HackWithInfy Power Programmer role. And today he is here to share with us his interview experience for Power Programmer role. Hi, Abhishek.
Hello Shashank, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good too.
Yeah. So let's start with your interview experience with Power Programmer role.
Yeah. So I guess it was way back in I would say 2019 when we were in our I guess in the initial year or initial beginning time of fourth year. So yeah, there were three rounds to that interview. The first
Mhm.
round included basic competitive programming. There were three questions in the increasing order of difficulty, and yeah, I felt that those three questions were somewhat easy and can be doable. Let's say if you
Mhm.
have some basic hands-on experience with competitive coding and some CodeChef or HackerRank sites. I guess with such that basic experience, I guess you'll be able to clear your first round. After that, I guess there was some cutoff. I don't remember the precise number. Maybe around 15,000 was the cutoff nationwide to get
Mhm.
qualified for the second round.
Mhm.
Uh, in second round, I guess I would like to call this as crucial round. Why?
Mhm.
Because this decides whether you get a power programmer role or the specialist role. So basically, top 300 I believe was the cutoff for qualifying for the power programmer interview.
Mhm.
So yeah, so here the questions were somewhat tricky. So again, three questions in increasing order of difficulty, and as far as I remember, the first question was again doable. It involves some basic think through, and you'll be able to solve it. Second and third questions, as I recollect, were bit tricky, but after giving some thought through and some amount of tinkering, I was able to, I guess, solve the second question completely. Third question, I guess, via brute force approach, some 30% of test cases I got cleared.
Mhm.
So a bit of a trick here, which I used at that point of time was, since this round was crucial to me, and basically what matters in the end is whether you get qualified to the final round to get the into the power programmer role. So what I did was, understanding the two questions, like the question number two and question number three, were tricky. I basically, when I read through the questions, I got that these questions are a bit tricky. So I drafted quickly the brute force approach for both the questions, and
Mhm.
got the first 30% or 50% of test cases cleared, and then I
Mhm.
went back to question two and
Mhm.
thought into more detailed, and then solved for the 100% test cases. So what I'm trying to say here is basically that basically what matters is whether you come at the top of the leaderboard or no. Okay, so let's say when you see a question, instead of thinking a lot about it, how you can optimize and get all the 100% in the
Mhm.
first go, I suggest if you can draft a brute force solution and
Mhm.
clear the 30%. So the time also matters here. The early you solve, even though with
Mhm.
less number of test cases, you're already having an edge. You're already on a little top at the leaderboard. So
Mhm.
that was my point.
Yeah, that will
And
also give a sense of confidence, like, okay, I'm at least in a good
correct.
position in the leaderboard, and now in the
Yeah.
remaining time, I can think of to optimizing. Right.
Yeah. So that gives a good, yeah, that gives a bit of confidence also. That confidence helps you to think about a lot. Else, what
Mhm.
happens? You sit and try to design an optimal solution, and when you see the test cases being failed, again that
Mhm.
has some amount of negative impact. Is what I believe. So
Mhm.
this is one of the trick I would say which I use, to get through the top 300 and then in the to the final interview.
Mhm.
Yeah, so as I remember, I saw two questions, and third one was few test cases had passed.
Mhm.
In the final interview was on campus, so the panel had come to our campus for the interview to take in-person interview, I would say. So there also, in the beginning, we had pen and paper based, I would say, writing the code. There were around 3 to 4 problems that was, are told on spot for all of us who had qualified for, power programmer and specialist role. Same problems were given, and we were asked to write the code on paper.
Mhm. Mhm.
uh, those problems were also, I would say, easy.
Mhm.
Basically, based on standard problems. So basically, how you can think about optimizing the solution and solving it in some minimal complexity. And those questions related. I mean, so those same questions will be asked in the interview. Basically, it's like how did you solve this question? How did you solve it optimally? So questions were based also on that. Apart from general competitive programming questions, there were questions on few of the popular algorithms. I had one question related to cadence algorithm. So he basically gave the problem, and he asked me how would you solve it optimally. So I told him the brute force solution, and I told him the optimal solution, and I told him this is what is known as cadence algorithm. So yeah, I mean, and few other questions were based on trees. Uh, I don't remember exactly, maybe on cruise skills or
Mhm.
minimum spanning tree related questions.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, standard algorithm and data structures questions were asked, I would say. Apart from that, projects was also the focus. So I was asked about the projects that I had did. Basically, few of top 1 or 3 projects which I had listed. So you need to be, confident about your project. Basically, give them a background. What is the problem that you're trying to solve, and how did the project happen, and what was your main contribution to the project. So this was the focus. And apart from this, general interview questions, technical interview questions based on operating systems, computer networks, and some amount of Unix-based questions were also asked. And after this, technical round, uh, there was an HR interview, which was basic, simple HR questions like introduce about yourself, where do you see yourself in this year, and few like other basic HR questions. So HR will be generally easy. So more focus should be on the technical and how you answer those questions.
Mhm.
Yeah, I guess overall it was really good experience. I would say this hack with Infy. The questions were also competitive questions were also nicely articulated, and it requires us to think and then solve it.
Mhm.
Apart from that, crucial part of this interview, I would say, is the second round that determines you whether you get a power programmer role or the other specialist role. Yeah, I guess that was whole journey about me to hack with Infy.
Okay, nice. So let's move on to our basic Q&A session. So many of the juniors are having their interviews for the first time, and like they are used to like solving like coding problems and competitions. And what can they expect in an interview? Is it like again they'll give a problem and you just have to solve, or there are other parameters that are going to deciding the result?
Okay, so I would say, I mean, algorithm and data structures are are of importance. I mean, I would say they are most important, but also at the same time, other subjects are also important. I would say operating systems, Unix, and computer networks. So these are all very important subjects as per I think. So yeah, basically focus more on algorithms and data structures. Why? Because they judge you. I mean, it basically helps assess how good you are in problem solving skills. So later, once you have your experience in IT, you see that basically a solution to a problem is not just one component. So there are many components to a solution, and that involves you to stitch all those components and give a solution. So to assess you in this basic problem solving skills is what algorithms and data structures really help you a lot. So whenever you're practicing for the interviews and other you know things, so see competitive programming as problem solving and not just as coding some lines of code to get 100% test cases. So yeah, think about it.
So basically, that problem-solving ability will help us solve any kind of problems or face any situations during an interview. Right.
Yeah.
So moving on to the next question. What is your suggestions for before the interview, 1 day, 1 week before interview?
Okay, so I mean, weeks before interview, I would say, you know, try to brush up on the the core domains, say the important subjects. So, as per me, I would say those are algorithms and data structures, operating systems, computer networks, and then Unix. Yeah, so those are pretty important, I would say. Apart from that, you can also look into the projects that you have mentioned in your resume. So the top projects which you have mentioned, so try to know in and out around those projects, because what happens is that if the panel is an expert in the same domain in which you have worked, then there will be a lot of cross questions that may be asked, and if you can answer those questions in a proper way and correct way, then that will be really good. Also, for preparations, I would recommend you can look into Geeks for Geeks websites, and they provide a lot of standard questions in various subjects that are specifically designed for interview purposes. Yeah, so that's a good practice to do weeks before interview. One day before interview, I would say don't stress up too much. Try to just brush up as much as you can and look into your projects if possible, and few of the most important question, I would say, but most importantly, don't stress up. Yeah.
Mm, yeah. So, what do you suggest, like, to be in the mindset during interview? Like, does it have to be flawless? We have to answer everything.
I say I would say that you don't. Yeah, it doesn't need to be flawless. Uh, be confident as much as you can. It basically reflects on how well you have prepared for the interview, how
Mm,
well you're strong with your fundamentals, and it's okay, I guess, if you don't know the answer to specific questions. You can straight away say no, I do not know. That's still okay, but the things which try to make sure you answer it correctly, I mean, to the point, and don't make it too verbose, saying like too many redundant things and making it less valuable sort of thing. Yeah, to
mm,
keep the answers to the point, and show that confident in your face when you're saying that answer. Shouldn't be
mm,
like you have marked up few sentences from some book and you're saying the answer. So it should be like you are saying it with some confident is what I would say.
mm. Right. So, do you have any pro tips or any key learnings that you want to share?
Yeah, so it's the I would say it's the same thing which I mentioned during my second round. So specifically for hack with Infi, uh, that is what I can say. So round two being the crucial round. So what matters is you if you as soon as possible you climb the leaderboard and get into the top cutoff to qualify for the final interview. So
Mm,
yeah, I mean, you can try with the brute force approach. Let's say if you see the problem, if you have a solution in mind, and
mm,
if you can quickly write an optimal solution, go ahead and give it a shot. And with few minor modifications, the code might work. But if you
mm,
feel that this requires a lot of time, then I would suggest go with the brute force approach as soon as possible and get those initial few test cases done, so that your score increases and you're at least a little bit up in the leaderboard.
yeah.
So that is one pro tip is what I can say.
Yeah, and it's nothing to think like, no, I just did a very simple solution and was able to clear the bar. Otherwise, I wouldn't have deserved, because this is something everyone does. Like, it's very common, and you were smart enough to realize this point and take advantage
Yeah,
of that and get up to the
yeah,
later goal. Yeah.
true.
Mm. So, lastly, do you want to share anything else apart from these? Like, in general, like, how is your work life going on with Bosch?
Yeah, I mean, so Bosch, it's a really good company, I would say. So I
Mm,
selected this role specifically for the domains they had offered, and
mm,
currently I'm working into big data engineering sites and largely on cloud related technologies,
mm,
specifically Microsoft Azure.
mm,
So I work on designing big data solutions
mm,
that involves like Hadoop, Spark, Hive, and those technologies.
mm.
It's going really great. I would say the learning has been really steep. It's going
Yeah,
really good.
that's nice to know. And in fact, we are looking forward to have for another session where you can share your interview
Yeah,
experience with Bosch. So it will be helpful for
sure,
the juniors who are looking forward to appear for Bosch interviews in future. Yeah.
sure. I would love that. Yeah,
Yeah. Thank you, Abhishek, for being with us. Uh,
yeah.
See you.
Thank you, Shashank. I would like finally I would like to say all the best to all the newcomers who are trying their luck with this hack with Infy. So all the best to them.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.